What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to go over how I did end up getting over $90 million here in Motorfest. Now, I would almost guarantee that basically anybody is probably not going to want to actually do this because it is not the best experience. Because we all do know right now in the game, there isn't a ton of ways to actually make money or at least grind it out, to where it's probably going to be a fairly fun experience similar to how like it was in the Crew 2. But for me, guys, the first thing I do want to mention here is what set should you actually run to do it. This is probably going to be the easiest decision here because you do not want a buck set. You would actually think having more money from a buck set would be helpful, but no, having an XP magnet is by far going to be a better set to run on it. Why is that, to be honest? Well, I really don't know why they actually have the buck set designed how they are. And one of the big reasons why I did end up using something like, no, and one of the bigger reasons why I did end up using an XP magnet is probably going to come down to the fact that you get more XP running an XP magnet, simply due to the fact that it's going to be a 25% more on the XP compared to a 15% on the bucks, and then at least you can also have all like the affixed stats on the bucks, giving you a 21% boost on it. So it's about a $4,000 difference or something, which to be honest is basically nothing when grinding out many of the events. Now, if you are wondering though, like what is the best vehicle or like even the class I should be running on the events, I do know a lot of players are running something like Alpha GP cars, which are great. The only issue with them though is they do tend to struggle a bit more off-road, which this event obviously has it. We all do know Scene 4 is pretty much covered in many off-road areas. So for me though, when I was grinding out the event though, I did notice using something like a hypercar did seem to make it a bit easier. Even though like an Alpha GP is going to have a lower top speed, they're still going to handle better. Whereas something like a hypercar is going to have a higher top speed in some areas, so I guess in some ways it is going to come down to preference on it, because you really can do this event basically quick in either one of these classes. For me though, guys, I did end up using the regular Chiron Super Sport Divine Edition. Not even kidding, I have 11,000 miles on this car. Legit all from doing the regular Scene 4 event, only driving this vehicle the entire time I did it. Yeah, you can use other cars and stuff like that, but I was having a great time in this hypercar, so I was like, you know what? Let's go grind it out and get some more levels and make as much money as I possibly can. And then boom, I did end up getting to $99 million, but I did end up buying a few cars, and now I'm back down to 94 million. But the big thing about the Scene 4 event here, guys, is the only thing you're here to do is to probably get parts if you need them, and also go after as much money in XP as you possibly can. But I would also say, being real though, a lot of players are most likely going after money more than they are going after XP, because leveling up the main stage only gives you a title, whereas if you are getting more money and stuff like that, you could go buy different hypercars or all kinds of different cars to add to your collection or stuff like that. So that is probably going to be the main thing many players are focusing on, is the money part of it. Which, to be honest, guys, I can't blame you here. Having a ton of money in this game is obviously pretty useful. And I do know a lot of players are still trying to, like, collect money and stuff like that. Get more vehicles. Get some of the quote-unquote meta cars. That way they can't compete in grand races and stuff. But doing that, if you are grinding out grand races for money or regular events around the game, it is probably going to take an incredibly long time to go after something like a hypercar, with most of the Bugattis and stuff like that, even some of the McLarens, costing over $2 million to actually get them. Like, for example, guys, imagine farming one of the events that give you 10 grand every time you do it. You are legit going to be here a long time trying to grind something like that, so I would probably say grinding out something like the regular Scene 4 event, even to this day, is going to be the best way to do it. Now, do not worry, though. I would say a lot of players are going to go, well, Block, like, stop making videos on this stuff. They're going to patch it. And to be real here, guys, I really don't think they're going to patch it, and that's going to come down to a couple of reasons. First one here is they did end up adding a regular boost to one of the other playlists to get players into that one, which, funnily enough, was a lot of fun being able to have a boost on a different playlist. And the second reason why they're probably not going to patch it is, for one, it's also been out for over a month now or so, so I would say a lot of players are still doing it a bit. And pretty much the only way to really get this done in a quick way is a hyper or an Alpha GP vehicle. Everything else is going to take a minute and 30, minute and 40, even sometimes around 2 minutes in a tier 1 vehicle, which you legit cannot hit anything in a tier 1 car if you want to do it, so I don't think that's an issue. But again, guys, this is the easiest way I found to get over $90 million here in Motorfest. Don't get me wrong, though, I did have a good amount of money before I did it. I made around $50 to $60 million doing this event, and I can easily go back in and probably make a bit more, max back out to like 99 million. But I just feel like a lot of players are like, yeah, you probably should take a break. And also, I did want to mention that as well, if you guys are grinding out this event to get as much money or XP that you possibly can, take it from me, guys, to be a bit careful doing that. Like, yes, you can obviously stack it quick. It is going to be around a minute and 20, like a minute and 15 when you keep practicing it. You might even be able to get this down to around a minute and 5 to like a minute and 10 seconds, also depending on which vehicle you're running and that part set. But even then though, running this casually, throwing on some music in the background, and basically just racing, I was still getting around a minute and 15, a minute and 20 fairly easily in a hypercar. So I guess it is probably going to come down to like which class you actually want to use on it, which parts that you might want to run, or even if you don't have an XP magnet, throw on something like a loot digger. You'll be able to get those parts that's a bit quicker doing this event, and at least at the same time you're still going to stack some XP to get higher ranked, and you are also going to be able to make plenty of money doing this event on top of that. And before you know it, you can buy some more hypercars or different cars you were looking for, and also save up for some certain new like elite bundles that come out, or different like bundle deals and stuff like that for summits. That way you're saving yourself more money on these vehicles. Now the last thing I do want to mention here though is if you are grinding out this event, I do want to actually say to be a bit careful grinding out the exact same event 4 hours on end. And a lot of players might be like, well, Block, like I'm grinding out the money and stuff like that. Like, I do hear you, and I was doing the exact same thing. I actually grinded the regular Scene 4 event, and I think I was doing that around, let's say, maybe an hour or two at the most. That way it's not going to be like a burnout type of thing, or it is most likely going to come out of nowhere and probably ruin the entire game for you grinding out the exact same event for 16 hours. I don't think anybody would have fun doing that. I would pretty much do like an hour or two, make a good amount of money and some levels, and then jump onto like the summit or do some grand races and stuff like that to mix it up. And the other way I was looking at this though is even running that set event for maybe like an hour, hour and a half at the most, I was still making like well over $1 million a day, which if you were grinding out the game casually in a week, you have 7, 8, even $9 million running that for a bit. So I do feel like it really is going to depend on how bad you actually want to level up or go after as much money as you possibly can. Like, going after $50 million would be pretty awesome, guys, but let's be real. Grinding out the exact same event for 55 hours isn't going to be the funnest way to do it, and that is also why I really think they have to add the boost to each playlist, give us more ways to make money, or at least increase the said payouts in the events. That way a lot of players aren't going to get burnt out doing the exact same event for hours on end. I just feel like that's going to be a better variety, especially in a racing game. Not everybody wants to do the exact same event over and over when there's other ones. Let's say there's around 40 events in the entire game and only 1 or 2 events. Is the best way to make money? That's probably not the best way to do it, and it's most likely going to push a lot of players away, or most likely make them do other events and go do grand races, then probably not have enough money for certain vehicles, which of course in return is also going to push them off the game, which is probably going to be a pretty bad cycle. But overall though, guys, after going after $90+ million, farming the exact same event over and over in the Bugatti, the biggest thing I can recommend though is take your time on it. Like, don't spend 15 hours at a time doing that event. Do it like 1 or 2 hours a day, then maybe jump onto like some grand races, even do the summit again, try to improve some of those scores, or even take a break from the game, come back to it the next day, and boom, start grinding again. That is probably going to be one of the better ways to do it, guys. That way you don't entirely burn out on it. Overall though, let me know your thoughts on this. If you guys are wondering, is there another way to get money pretty quick, the other event I would actually recommend doing is the Kiss Me Combi, but Scene 4 is just so much better.